I think that for many, for many fans, including myself, the Captain Marvel movie wasn't quite what I was hoping for. And while there were a lot of good things in it, unfortunately, the story didn't necessarily do it for me. However, they decided to create a character, Miss Marvel, that would be the first Muslim superhero, which is pretty significant. And it's a great idea, if it's a great superhero. But there are a lot of things that go into creating these characters that a lot of people are concerned about. And so, just by name alone, the association with this Miss Marvel character to Captain Marvel kind of caused some issue with what things are going to be like. And good morning to you, Mikey Lito. Thank you so much for stopping by. It's good to see you as always. I absolutely was very excited, as I've said, to see this new Miss Marvel character. Any sort of superhero that's new or exciting like this definitely garners attention. But certain things did happen that have kind of caused a lot of concern for this character from the get-go. And one of the things that happened was that this character was inserted into a video game called The Avengers a few years ago, which was a very popular game. And the game itself, obviously it's a video game where you play, and it's the Avengers, and one of the most popular groups of superheroes of all time. And what happened was, in the game, Ms. Marvel was inserted as one of the characters. Now, I found that to be very interesting because for a new or relatively new character that people don't really know very much about her, we don't have a whole bunch of information about what this character would be like. To decide to use her in a major video game where millions of people would be playing, and for it to be based out of the Avengers, was very daring, in my opinion. Usually you would use well-established characters that have, are sort of tried and true, that people are going to want to play as. But for there to be a situation where you take a character with very little known information about them and then put them into a major video game with other characters that we know a lot about was very interesting. And, there were many fans who didn't care for this insertion. And I think it kind of hurt the character as well, because this is a character who hasn't even had a chance to kind of, be introduced to the world, but was introduced through this Avengers video game. And so, that was kind of a detrimental thing that had happened. And then the second part, as I mentioned already, was that just the fact that this character, we don't know much about her. And there is this sort of unofficial association with Captain Marvel, who also, unfortunately, as a character, didn't necessarily translate well to many fans. So just by name alone, there was this association and kind of like a lot of judgment towards this character, whether I don't believe it was a well-deserved judgment, but it still was something that existed. And good morning to you, Louis Livitz. Good morning to you, and thank you for tuning in to Sunday Brunch this morning. I sure hope you guys have your mimosas. There's no alcohol in this, but it's just my orange juice. I hope you guys have your mimosas or your coffee or whatever it is that you have in the morning. I also have coffee because it's actually tea. I'm a tea drinker. I also have my tea that I was drinking this morning. So thank you for stopping by, Louis Livitz. I so do appreciate you stopping by to join us here this morning. And so with the Miss Marvel character, there's so many things about just, so when you start a new character, you want the character to start on the right foot. You want to have a situation where people are excited about the character. And so having those two situations with this particular character, was very difficult. And good morning to you, Bloodsport1. Good morning to you. I hope you are well. And hello, and thank you so much for coming and stopping by today. We so appreciate you here. Jay Marciello, good morning and blessings to you, Jay Marciello. So nice to see you here this morning. And so, I have to wonder, it's like, normally when you would introduce a new character, we're talking about Miss Marvel, there is that kind of feeling where you're like, this is going to be great. I'm excited for this. I want to see what this is about. But it was a little bit harder with those two things against her. And the two things that I'm referring to is her association or unofficial or official association with Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel's introduction into the Avengers video game, which was something that I don't think anybody could have seen, actually happening. Good morning, Bigot Forward Entertainment. How are you this morning? Thank you so much for tuning in. It is such a pleasure to have you here with us this morning. So I do appreciate seeing you here. I hope you are well this morning. And I sure hope you brought your mimosas or coffee or tea or whatever you need in the morning on this beautiful first day of spring, Sunday. So great to see you guys. Really excited that you guys are here as we talk all the talk in the fandom about what's going on. And of course, we're talking about Miss Marvel. And so, I was concerned and am still very concerned about how, she's even going to be approached or interpreted or what they do. And of course, the questions that everybody has is like, what's her origin story? And what is her inner conflict? The inner conflict, of course, in this particular case, is that she's a young Muslim girl from Jersey City who has to deal with the fact that being a superhero is not an accepted occupation in her culture. And so, of course, that's the internal struggle that we're dealing with. Yes, Luis Livitz says that can't tell you how awesome it is to have a Jersey City born and raised in the MCU. That is pretty cool, isn't it? It's the coolest thing ever. And I just love that they did that she is from, let's say the tri-state area. I am in New York, Luis. So I do have a lot of pride as to where she is. As far as I'm concerned, we're all this New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut area. We're all together here, although we're in separate states, we're still part of this metropolitan area. So it is wonderful to have something like that. And good morning to you, Renz Tolentino. Good morning to you. Ren says, good morning. And to the audience, well, good morning to you, Renz Tolentino. It's such a pleasure to have you here this morning. We're talking about Miss Marvel this morning, guys. Just about to go on here. Absolutely, we are all the tri-state. That's right, Louis. We certainly are, part of this one area, and it does feel like we're all kind of in the same state, even though we're in different states. It feels the same to me. I feel very connected to the people over in New Jersey, as well as the ones in Connecticut, because we all hold this place, this area in the Northeast, so dear to us here. Good morning, Keely Chow. Hey, everybody, and good morning. Well, good morning to you, Keely Chow. It is always wonderful to see you here on the show. And hey, well, hey, Keely Chow, it is such a pleasure to see you here this morning. The first day of spring, guys. I certainly hope that you are feeling this positive energy that I have. The days are getting longer. The temperatures are milder, not as many, hopefully, freezing cold days, not as many snow days ahead of us. Those are kind of behind us. We're well into March here. It's such a great day, and it's a great day to be on here with you all this morning. I have to say, I am so excited. And so I'm going to continue to talk about Miss Marvel. Honestly, I think that this trailer is obviously groundbreaking for me. And I think that Louis Livitz certainly has made a good point about having someone who is born and raised from Jersey City in the MCU is absolutely wonderful. It is certainly something to celebrate, and I think it's a lot of fun. I think that they were very careful to pick someone who is from Jersey City. I love that they did that. She has the potential to be a fantastic breakthrough character, completely new, a really beautiful concept. I think that the actress who plays her is amazing. And, as I said before, the origin story about her, I'm sure we're going to find out a lot more about that element. of her. And Mark goes dark side. Well, good morning to you. Good morning, everybody. Well, late afternoon for me, international time zones. Haha. Well, good afternoon to you, Mark goes dark side. It is a pleasure to see you here this morning. We are so grateful that you are here, wherever you are on the earth. We certainly are excited to have you here this morning. Also, getting back to Ms. Marvel, that origin story, I'm curious as to how that origin story will play out. There's so many unknowns about her. And as I said before, never before has there really been a character that's been introduced that has had sort of like a beginning like Miss Marvel. So I'm hoping that, one, that the story that they give her in this series is going to be wonderful. And after I watched this particular trailer, I have to say that looking at this trailer, and in my personal opinion, I feel like this character is meant for young adults. Now, this may or may not be true, but then I had to ask myself, in the trailer, Miss Marvel says, this is, just another day, and I'm paraphrasing, guys, another day for someone who's going to save the world. And I thought to myself, well, is she going to save the world? What kind of external threat are they going to give Miss Marvel? I wondered about that. Mario Lopez says, yeah, seems like a teenage show. I'll probably not like it. I'm curious too, Mario. It does seem like a teenage show. And, they're investing a lot into a show that may be for young adults. So I think it's very interesting. And, I also think what's interesting is for her to comment and say that she's, there to save the world, so to speak. And my question really is, as a young girl, are they going to give her a challenge that would require her to save the world? Would that be something, honestly, too much for a young adult to tackle, maybe in the first season of her show? I think I would like to see her maybe do something more on a local level where she saves perhaps Jersey City or something like that. But I'm certain that whatever external challenge they're going to give her, it's going to be amazing. She does use a bracelet, which in culturally is pretty significant for her regarding jewelry and traditions and passing jewelry down in the family and jewelry as gifts. It certainly is something that is very interesting to see. Tom Jr. Jackson says Miss Marvel looks like a fun show, and it's a character I don't know much about, and I'm excited to see how she fits into Captain Marvel too. Yes, this is another question that a lot of people are asking because we don't know that much about her, which is also very interesting in that regard. And Mark Goes Dark Side says, yeah, Stephanie looks like a teenager CW show. Yes, absolutely. Just with a bigger budget. And it certainly is a big budget production, isn't it? Like they spent a lot of money on this. And so I have to ask myself, to invest this much on a teenager who's going to be in the, in this particular universe, it's a lot of money to throw at something like this. So I'm curious as to how far their planning has gone for this character from this television show and into perpetuity. We've already seen her in the Avengers game. We've seen her, now in this television show. With all of this money, I'm guessing that they plan on doing much more with this character. Keely Chow says, in a world of Captain Marvel's, be a Buffy. Well, something, Keely Chow, I think you make a really good point, because I certainly want this character to be successful, but they need to give her a fantastic script. It has to be a good story, because no matter how attractive or fun or entertaining or, captivating a character is, we must have that good story that goes with it. And they can't drop the ball on this character. I almost feel like they absolutely have to give us a story that makes sense for this character. And also, in regards to her powers, and good morning to you, KEK44. Howdy. Howdy to you, and howdy to the first day of spring to you, KEK44. Good morning, Lord Toth. Hi, everybody. Well, hello, Lord Toth. It's so great to see you this morning. What I'm curious about is, what kind of powers are they going to give a young adult that's appropriate? We certainly don't want to see her doing anything since she does have certain moralistic issues that would go against that. So that's something else to think about, and something that I think would be very important. Marco's Darkside says, yeah, it definitely looks like a teenager CW show. I guess they're going after a teeny Buffalo audience. Lewis Libet says, all highly recommend reading the 2014 Ms. Marvel comic run. Well, I certainly will check that out, Lewis Libet's, for sure. And we do appreciate that information. Mikey Lita says, perhaps, but it also looks like it's going to examine tradition versus modernity. And this is really important, isn't it? Because this is a conflict that we do see, and it's actually becoming more common in sort of like the comic hero genre that's being either on the small screen or the big screen. These traditions and modernity, the innate question of how this character is going to go forward by being a superhero and by also valuing what morals that she has that are important to her and her family. um, Mark Goes Dark Side says, I meant to say teeny bopper. Yes, yes, absolutely. It is teeny bopper. I'm kind of curious as to whether you guys think that this is going to be made to grab more female comic book fans, especially in a young age. I know that there is a Miss Marvel comics, a more modern one, and I have seen reviews and they haven't been that great on those comics. But I'm kind of curious as to whether or not this is going to spur more young women in particular, or young fans even, to buy comics and to look for Miss Marvel if they find the show fascinating and interesting. Um, and also, Lord Toth says, great to see you. Well, it's great to see you, Lord Toth. It is so wonderful to see you here this morning. Rogue Thinker is also with us. Rogue Thinker, greetings all. Hope you are having a great morning. Well, thank you, Rogue Thinker. We hope you are having a great morning as well. It certainly is a beautiful start to spring here in the Northeast, with very mild temperatures. So that always makes me happy. Marco's Dark Side asks, do you think a more mature audience like ourselves will enjoy this show? And I'm not saying we are old, huh? Well, that's something to consider, isn't it, Mark? Goes Dark Side. Something that I'd like to see is perhaps some adult involvement, kind of like Aunt May with Spider-Man. We certainly don't want her to be on her own. And we can actually hear her mother's voice in the trailer, where her mother kind of is a guiding light to her, isn't she? And she tells her, just think about what's important and what you're going to do. And which I think was incredibly important because she kind of mirrors that role that Aunt May played for Spidey that we've seen in the past, or whomever Spidey, whatever adult Spidey is around, because he tends to have other adult mentors who are around him for quite some time, for quite a lot of the films that we've seen Spider-Man. And maybe going forward, he may not have those adult influences. They may not be as relevant to him as they were in the past. But certainly Miss Marvel is the type of character that I would think would garner or need an adult mentor. Clearly, religion is also important to her, and her traditions and beliefs. This is a character that is very dynamic. She has a lot going on, and on top of it, she's in high school. So, so it's very interesting to have to deal with all of these things. One thing I think was interesting was that the Miss Marvel trailer also addressed the female gaze. And so, in regards to superheroes, um, you know, there have been so many fantastic superheroes out there, but I think that the female gaze is something that is very important to address. She's a young girl, and women do and are looking at men, because for those of us who are attracted to men, we're attracted to you. So we want to see men just in general. But I do like that they address that here, because it is something that, especially in your teenage years, is incredibly important to you as a woman if you are interested in men. So, I absolutely love it. I think it's interesting that they decided to focus on that in the trailer. In the trailer, we know that she is looking at young men because she herself is looking for love and romance. Tom Jr. Jackson says maybe Captain Marvel becomes a mentor to Ms. Marvel at some point. Perhaps that would be very interesting to fit that in there. I think that would be, very unique. From what I understand and from what I have heard from other people, is that Ms. Marvel's favorite character, superhero is Miss Marvel. And a lot of people have asked this question as to why she is. I don't have an answer to that. But apparently, at some point, we find out or we know that Miss Marvel is incredibly important. Excuse me, Captain Marvel is incredibly important to Miss Marvel. And so this is something that we certainly need to ask about because some people have pointed out that there's no way for her to even know about Miss Marvel or be aware of her. But I'm sure we're going to find out this information soon enough. Mikey Lito says, my one hesitation is, will the show be a street level show or is the scope larger? The show has a look of a street level show, but her focus is cosmic. I agree with you, Mikey Lito. I agree 100%. Her interaction or her comments seem to be those of cosmic comments. Like saving the world, just a person from Jersey City saving the world. And that does feel very cosmic. It feels galactic, doesn't it? And I kind of think she needs to start out on street level. I don't know whether a larger scope should be introduced just yet. I think she needs to find herself and figure out how she's going to be this character, because there has to be a lot of character development in this character, doesn't there? Because we don't know who she is. We have to see that establishment. We can't be put into a position where, as viewers, we don't know what exactly it is that makes this character who she is. And we don't know. No one has told us. It is quite an enigma. So you make a really good point, Mikey Lito. Rogue Thinker says, I don't have much interest in this version of Miss Marvel. The comic was not good or popular. The character is a Disney Marvel addition and never really worked as a diversity creation. And this is very important too. I think that of all the characters that they could have created, this one does have, unfortunately, the disadvantage of perhaps not having a successful comic, not having a successful run in the Avengers game, not necessarily being so positively associated with Captain Marvel. So there's a lot of things that I think they have to kind of overcome overall to make this a success. And a lot of people are questioning that, even the track record for some of the characters or some of the shows have not been as great as they had hoped. So this is a concern for me as well, Rogue Thinker. And I think you make a very good point. It's too bad that the comics didn't go and create a lot of interest for people. I think that in regards to diversity creation, that could be a whole nother topic altogether, which would certainly be something that we should explore. Mario Lopez says, I hope that Disney finally understands that the rest of the world don't care about your cultural wars and just give us a good story with good characters. Yes, we're kind of really desirous of a good story with good characters. And she looks like she could be a good character. This is the real challenge, isn't it? We just want a good story with good characters. And I sure hope that, from all the hype about this character and all the money that they spent on this trailer and clearly on the series, that they do deliver to us something that is relevant, and something that's really a good story and has good characters, not just her, but the entire cast as well. Bloodsport says, it's an innocent girl daydreaming about being a superhero. It looks interesting. She's a fan of superheroes. Its aim is for kids, not edgy. No, it certainly wouldn't be edgy. And that's something that I think is very interesting too, is, this might be one of the first series that we see that isn't edgy, but is presented as if it's a major player. Because this trailer was kind of like a big deal looking, almost, I'm not going to say it's cinematic, but it could have been used as a movie trailer. It could have been a movie that, kids could go see in the theater, rather than a series. But I think it's very interesting in that regard that they chose to present her in this way. And from what I understand, the original scripts for this particular series were written quite some time ago, but then there were rewrites. And there were rewrites for a reason. And of course, there's been a lot of speculation about as to why. But as far as I'm concerned, they can rewrite it 100 times. As long as the story is good characters and good story, I'm happy with it. So, she is kind of an innocent girl. And, that's something else too that I think is very interesting because, talking about, her innocence in this is a completely different approach to thinking about a superhero character because a lot of times we're not talking about the innocence of a character, but this is an innocent girl daydreaming about being a superhero. And then this ends up becoming her actual thing coming true, her dream coming true, so to speak. Mike Alito says it's very important because clearly Marvel expanded her importance by rescoping Captain Marvel 2 into the Marvels and making her character apparently a major part of that film. So, that is also important to mention. And thank you, Mike Alito, for going ahead and actually saying that. Clearly, she has a huge amount of importance going forward. They definitely want her to be, someone who is going to be a major player. Now, that's also something else that I think is very interesting is introducing a new character that we don't know that much about as a major player in this new phase, right? A lot of people have been talking about how they feel about the new phase. It's not quite exactly what they were hoping for. But, as far as I'm concerned, like I said, if the writing is good, I'm not that concerned about it. Obviously, we definitely deserve good writing now. This is at a point where I think people are at a point where they're like, enough is enough. I absolutely have to have excellent writing from these characters, and there's no reason for us to be delivered anything differently. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is certainly something that we have to think about going forward and to see where that takes us. But that Miss Marvel trailer got a lot of attention. And if it is what they purport it to be, something that does give us a character that looks very fascinating, is very unique, then I'm hopeful that, it's going to turn into something very good. So that's all I have to say about this Miss Marvel character. And thank you guys for sharing your opinion about this. The next thing that I wanted to talk about has to do with Netflix. And, this week, Netflix has kind of, or has been implying that they are going to prompt subscribers to pay for users who are outside of their households. And, all of us, practically all of us, with 200 million subscribers, almost everybody here, I'm sure, has a Netflix subscription. But along with that subscription, I'm pretty sure that most of us have gone ahead and kind of shared our subscription with other people, meaning that, if you go over to someone else's house, you can log in there. I have a subscription on my cell phone, like I use it on my phone, multiple devices. The question is that Netflix is trying to sort of crack down on people. Since their subscriptions are not increasing dramatically, they want to go ahead and charge people for having subscriptions logged into multiple devices or even when you share in the household. And, I kind of think that that is something that is a concern. And Bloodsport says, I watched Netflix last night, The Conjuring 2. I was watching. Yeah. I mean, I watch Netflix probably every day. Very rarely is there a day where I'm not logged into Netflix for some reason or another. Netflix has been incredibly successful in regards to producing their highest rated series, which was Squid Game in 2021. And it got a lot of buzz. It got a lot of people talking about Netflix. And it certainly got Netflix, kind of in the news because of the success of that show. But one other thing I wanted to say about it was that even Steven Spielberg recently was talking about Squid Game and how it kind of changed things in regards to the way that shows are done. And, I think that it got his attention mainly just because so many people were talking about how cool the show was. And so someone wants to know, what do I watch on Netflix? I watch a lot of things, Bloodsport one. Obviously, I have watched Squid Game, but I pretty much watch all the categories on Netflix from everything that they come out with. And I've been a member since when they used to have discs. They used to send you discs in the mail that had movies on them. So that's how long I've been a member. It's probably well over 15 years with Netflix. So I do watch a lot of different shows on Netflix, but in regards to Squid Game, I watched that multiple times on Netflix and enjoyed it a lot. And so for Steven Spielberg to go ahead and mention how important Netflix was in regards to being a game changer in the industry, that was certainly something else. Now, in regards to He-Man, Bloodsport 1, I reviewed He-Man with two of my very good friends from the PGS, the Richard and Tony Johnson. And if you go to the Brrrr Network, you can see those reviews and PGS reviews about He-Man, which I reviewed with them. So yes, I did watch that series. I also reviewed it with Midnight's Edge as well, and with Lorena Creole. So there are several hours of commentary regarding He-Man in that regard. I haven't looked at the new season, but what I can say is that I certainly have had a lot to say about He-Man and a lot of discussions about it. So please feel free to go ahead and check those videos out on the Brrrr Network and on Lorena Creole's channel. So in regards to this PGA Awards, which a lot of people are using as a predictor as to who's going to win the awards, the Oscars next week, Squid Game, according to Steven Spielberg, quotes, Squid Game comes along and changes the math in entirety for all of us. And he pointed to the CEO that they started talking about the importance of movie stars in casting, and that the cyclical nature of the star system, crediting the streaming world with allowing unknown actors to anchor series. Now, I think it's very interesting that, Steven Spielberg decided to focus on Squid Game, because Squid Game apparently is going to have a second season. And the producers of Squid Game, whose name is, I can't remember the guy's name offhand, but his name is Hwang Dong-hook, said there is nothing to see just yet, but he's working hard on ideas for the next season of the South Korean killer survival drama, end quote. So I know, as when I saw Squid Game, I didn't think that it needed a second season. And this is kind of a topic for contention for a lot of people regarding this. But it's going to happen, and he's going to make it great. And he did mention that there's going to be more games, and that's all he can say. He's brainstorming, collecting ideas for season 2. He hasn't even started writing yet. But as far as I'm concerned, it was a series that it was good enough to be a standalone series. And a lot of people felt that if you had a season 2 for Squid Game, it would ruin it. So as far as I'm concerned, I think that Squid Game, I think if we could step away from it for 2 or 3 years while they're writing these scripts, we might be able to feel comfortable having this introduction of a new season 2. But I think 2022, a lot of people are still going to watch Squid Game on Netflix. It's going to be on there. They're going to have it because it was the highest watched show on Netflix. So I think it's pretty important in the sense that when you're looking at how Netflix is trying to raise prices now, are they going to be offering shows that have the same quality as Squid Game? Overall, they have a lot of shows that don't exactly have the best quality writing in them. But there have been quite a few that I've watched and enjoyed. Squid Game was one of them. But Squid Game, it was very unique, and it did push the limits, didn't it? Because you're talking about a show that talked about a game where you're playing and you're essentially going to die if you don't win. So the stakes were very high for Squid Game as far as I'm concerned. Mario Lopez says, everything related to Captain Marvel is not interesting because Captain Marvel is too powerful. She has no weaknesses, no kryptonite, or even people that she cares about that could be used against her. Well, this is very interesting too. This character development issue in Captain Marvel is a concern for a lot of people. And I actually agree with everything you said, Mario Lopez. I agree everything on that. It was hard for me to watch Captain Marvel because of these reasons. And I don't know if they're going to try and correct them or not, but I think that they need to do something to address it. Mikey Lito says, apparently her kryptonite is she has to take care of the entire universe. Sarcasm. Well, you make a good point there. Megas Vacanti. Hey, good morning to you, Megas Vacanti. Thank you so much for stopping by and being here with us this morning. He says, hey, Positive Fandom. Hello to you, Megas Vacanti. Bloodsport One says, I need to check out Squid Games. Never watched it. Don't kill me. No. Um, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Bloodsport One is that people are going to sort of rediscover Squid Game in 2022. And I think that the word has gone out enough that everybody knows what Squid Game is. And that for those who haven't had a chance to watch it, will watch it in 2022 and say, wow, this is an amazing show. I'm glad I caught it, now. And then perhaps as time goes by in 2023, we'll start to hear more about season 2 for Squid Game. So please watch Squid Game when you have a chance, Bloodsport One, and let us know what you thought about it. And Bloodsport also goes on to say, Squid Game sounds much like a Japanese film battle royale. What are your top movies on Netflix? I don't have that list with me right now, Bloodsport, but I will make the list and have it for you next week for movies on Netflix. They changed their movies. So I would have to go ahead and make sure before I recommend them on Netflix that they are actually still there, Bloodsport One. So I certainly will get back to you on that. And Lord Toth says that Squid Game was worth watching. Yes, I especially was fond of Squid Game, Lord Toth, when I had learned that it was based on a true story. It's based on an incident that occurred where a bunch of citizens ended up protesting. And when they protested, they lost their jobs, but they were also kind of like put on a list of not being hireable again. And they essentially lost everything that they had financially. And it made it very hard for them to sort of go on and build a life. And I think that Squid Game is kind of a commentary on that, on the challenges that people are faced with, let's say in modern times, perhaps a bit more extreme with the gambling, but I thought that it was certainly a way for you to look at people's financial circumstances, which certainly is something that's in the forefront for many of us. Tom Jr. Jackson says, I'm thinking of checking out a show called Annoying People on Netflix. I certainly think that that would be interesting too. I would suggest The Adam Project, entertaining, but it won't change your world. Well, thank you for recommending that. I think I watched that. I think it's a movie, right? With Ryan Reynolds as well. Squid Game is a series that took advantage of poor people killing each other to get ahead. Yes, and I'm sorry for the spoilers for you guys who don't know anything about it, but yes, it certainly was. And it actually had a lot to do, as far as I'm concerned, with class distinctions as well, and socioeconomic issues, which made it even more popular. Michael Leto says, it's not the type of content that I care to watch. And we respect that, Michael Leto. We know that this is not for everyone. Sorry. Bloodsport says, is it the Hunger Games? Well, I would say the similarities are that one person will be the victor. So if we're looking at shows where one person has to dominate through hundreds of people, that would be Squid Game. So the game is quite a dangerous game. It is a dangerous game, Squid Game. I wish they had a video game of Squid Game. I would have played that. Or even an online multiplayer Squid Game would have been cool, Okay. That's my personal wish. Mark Goes Dark Side says, I agree Squid Game could have been a standalone season, but I'm extremely excited that they are making a second season, and I think it's going to be awesome. Well, yes, I think that is fantastic too to think about. And, honestly, I personally am so fearful that this second season is not going to live up to what we want. And so I do have a bit of, sort of like this fear that we may not get the same quality. But knowing this gentleman, knowing that it took him 8 years to get this Squid Game, Squid Game season 1 made, and how careful and meticulous he was to it, I have a feeling that he'll be just as meticulous. I sure hope he will, with Squid Game. So, oh my goodness, it certainly is something to be excited about. LDG of Geeks Enjoy. Hello to you, LDG of Geeks Enjoy, and welcome to Positive Fandom this morning. And he says that Scotty sent me, Scotty R37, such a great gentleman. I sure hope LDG of Geeks Enjoy, you've brought your mimosas or your coffee or tea this morning or this afternoon if it's tea time for you, or even if it is the evening or the middle of the night. We are so grateful that you are here. Magus of Vicanti says, you know, in the history of the comics, Captain Marvel had a weakness. She got her powers drained by a certain mutant, which sidelined her for quite a few years. It makes me wonder if, to get Brie Larson off their back, Disney is going to take care of that character the same way in the MCU. Well, that would be, I would love if they would stick to something like that, Magus of Vicanti. That's exactly what people do want to see. They want to see these sort of traditional strengths and weaknesses in the characters that they love in the comics shown on the big screen. That's all people really want. And to be honest with you, even if the character has a transformation, as long as it's a transformation that takes place in the comics, is fine as far as I'm concerned, because characters do change when they're in the comics or when they have a new run by a new writer sometimes. So I'm hoping that some of those changes are things that we kind of know about the characters. Magus of Bacanti says also that there's very quickly made online game in stream called Crab Game. And it had a following among Twitch streamers for a few weeks. Am I to assume, Magus of Bacanti, that Crab Game is like Squid Game, or is it another style game? I do love Steam. I have a Steam account, but I haven't gone on there for quite some time. I really do need a proper computer to get on there so I can play well. But thank you for letting us know. We certainly do love games, and I think that Squid Game, would have been a fantastic video game or a cooperative play game where you start it and, you know, to be just like a showdown game for a day or two, and then you continue however they would want to do it. I think it would be very successful. Rogue Thinker says they have the original Star Trek series on Netflix. The second season is never as good, although the show Kingdom's second season was very good. Oh, okay. Okay, well, thank you for letting us know. When you say original Star Trek series, I'm assuming you mean the one from the 60s. Yes, I have watched those shows over and over and over again. And of course, my favorite one is the one where the guy has the line down the middle of the face and half of his face is black and half of his face is white, and the reverse for the other ones, and they're feuding. That's one of my favorite shows on that. On the original series. So guys, if you want to see the original series, go to Netflix and check that out. And also go to watch the show Kingdom, as Rogue Thinker is going and suggesting to us. Thank you, Rogue Thinker. We do appreciate the suggestions. Louis Libet says, I agree. Don't think there should be a second season. Just like how Watchmen did on HBO. Yeah, just a one-time run. I just feel very insecure about the possibility that the second season of Squid Game may not live up to our expectations. And I kind of think that, you know, sometimes like that first season of Squid Game was appropriate for right now, but in 5 or 6 years, there may be other things that we're concerned about. And, you know, just as long as it meets the appropriate climate of how things are, I think would be very good. And Tom Jr. Jackson agrees with Louis Libet's about Watchmen season 1. Bloodsport is asking me, do I like horror flicks? I do like horror flicks, Bloodsport 1. And if you've watched any of the Midnight Metals shows from 2021 and maybe a few musings from 2022 on the Burr Network, you certainly will see it. I am going to be having some reviews of horror films coming up. In fact, I have a review of a horror film on my channel here for a movie called Last Night in Soho, which I was so fond of. I absolutely love that film. I did the review with a very good friend of mine, Catherine Cook. And I think that if you'd be interested in seeing it, go ahead and check it out on my channel. It's called Last Night in Soho. So yes, I do like horror flicks. Tom Jr. Jackson says, from what I've read, Netflix is interested in making a Squid Game video game. Now, I did not know that, Tom Jr. Jackson. I sure hope they do, because, you know, I will be playing that on this channel. So I do want to mention to you guys, I will start to play some video games on my channel. If they make a Squid Game video game, I will stream it here on Positive Fandom. Now, Magus Bacanti says that the Crab Game is free to play, and the games in it are very quick and very cheap. It's optimized to be ridiculous, but I think it was made as quickly as it was to cash in on the trend. So that's very interesting too. Lord Toth says, let that be your last battlefield. Star Trek the TOS, which is one of the series from Star Trek. Thank you very much. The original series, that is obviously the episode with the where people's faces are painted. So yes, Louis Libet says, last night in Soho with Edgar Wright, you can't do any wrong. Yeah, I have to agree. Louis Wright certainly, Edgar Wright certainly did a fantastic job by, providing to us a movie that was really phenomenal. And I sure hope that kind of going forward, people will start to discover his talent with that. So now, from what I understand, and from what I've heard in regards to Star Trek, since someone did ask about Star Trek, I did want to mention that from what I understand, that Star Trek Discovery going forward will become more of an episodic show that we know, and it's going to become more traditional. Now, I just heard about this from another YouTuber by the name of the Salty Nerd. And during a discussion on that channel, they were talking about how Star Trek Discovery now going forward will become more episodic. This is fantastic news. And I think that a move towards something like that might benefit the show. Only time will tell if this is actually true. But I'm kind of curious, anybody out there who is a Star Trek fan, what you think about that. Whether do you think that a switch to a more episodic Star Trek Discovery will make the show more appealing to people? And do you think that they will keep a lot of the same story focus, meaning the political information, and switch away from that for a more episodic view? So, yes, Tom Jr. Jackson says, this may be positive fandom, but I'm positive that the Watchmen series on HBO was incredibly bad. Okay, well, thank you, Rogue Thinker. Thank you for sharing your opinions. We do respect your opinions here, and we welcome all opinions here. In these bad days we live, according to Mario Lopez, especially in Europe, I recommend everyone to see Netflix or YouTube, the documentary Winter on Fire. Now, thank you, Mario. It's great that you're giving us this recommendation. I'm not sure what Winter on Fire is about, but Mario, we're going to check out Winter on Fire. Maybe I'll review for the channel, and we can certainly talk about that. And I do appreciate the recommendation, guys. This is wonderful. I so appreciate it. And Rogue Thinker says, I think they say that about Discovery every year. You may be right, Rogue Thinker. You may be right. I think this was from an article that someone had published, but I certainly am not going to say you're incorrect. I can't tell you that that hasn't been said before about the Discovery series. Only time will tell if it is true. So thank you, Rogue Thinker, for pointing that out. Mikey Lito says, well, it may have been bad, but it certainly woke me up to the Tulsa Race Massacre. So I was certainly appreciative. And I'm assuming you talking about The Watchmen, Mikey Lito. So that is something to think about. Now, Lord Toth is answering my question about whether episodic television on Star Trek Discovery will make it better. And he says it won't. He says you can't polish poop to make it shinier. Yeah, and this is a concern that a lot of people have, where it says nothing will save STD. It's rotten to the core. Every time somebody says STD, I think of a like a sexually transmitted disease. It's so awful that they have this abbreviation for it, but there's nothing, that we can do about it. And Mario Lopez says it's about the Ukraine. So I have seen part of that documentary, and it was quite sad and unfortunate. And unfortunately, I can't really mention that on here, or else I'm going to get pulled down, Mario Lopez. But thank you for bringing everybody's attention to that. And certainly, our hearts and prayers go out to the people who are suffering from that unfortunate situation right now. Magus of Vacanti says, funny about that, that's the direction that Strange New Worlds was supposed to have gone, but apparently Strange New Worlds is going to be the same formula as previous Kurtzman Treks. Personally, I'm sour to the whole endeavor, and I'm not touching the Trek again until it's gone. Well, something? I do want to say something about Strange New Worlds, because they did release a trailer recently about Strange New Worlds. And there's a lot going on in Strange New Worlds. But my first thing is that while the trailer looks good, it looks organized nicely. My question is, it's called Strange New Worlds. Strange. But when you look at it, there's nothing in it to me that feels very strange at all. Like it just feels like a regular Star Trek series. What is so strange about Strange New Worlds? And I admit that perhaps when the concept of Strange New Worlds was introduced, or wherever it came from at the time, perhaps these concepts were very strange, very eye-opening, very shattering. But for me, I wasn't like, wow, that is so incredible looking. I didn't have that per se. And I'm kind of curious as to if any of you have seen the trailer for Strange New Worlds. Was there anything in that trailer that grabbed you as strange per se, rather than just, oh, it's a series about interplanetary, visits in space? I would like to know your opinion about that, whether or not you feel that Strange New Worlds actually was something that fits into that category. Now, Chips Bewick is here with us. Hello, Chips Bewick. Greetings to you, true believers. So nice to have you here. And Mark Mitchell says, hello, hope you're good. I enjoyed Batman last week more on the second viewing. Yeah, and I think that that's something that a lot of people will enjoy more as they continue to go forward with that. The more you watch it, the more you're going to see it's a film that had a lot of different types of things in it, and it's hard to see it all on that first viewing. So certainly it's something that's worth a rewatch, and I certainly will be watching it again. And we have Mark Mitchell. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, oops. Oh, yes. Rogue Thinker. Sorry. Rogue Thinker says, speaking of Star Trek, any news on R&B? I haven't seen him in a week. Now, many of you know that Robert's very busy right now, so he's not necessarily doing as many shows as normal. I can't really comment for him. What I can say is that hopefully he'll be streaming again soon, and as he takes care of whatever he has to take care of. But, he is fine. He is fine. And our show, Midnight Musings, is on hiatus right now. But certainly things will come back when things are completed. So hopefully soon, guys, I assure you, we will be seeing him again. So thank you for asking, Rogue Thinker. I will let him know that you asked about him, and that you are concerned about that. Bloodsport 1 is saying that, why can't I do this? Okay. Modern Trek is horrible. Yeah, it certainly has gone into a different direction. My comment about Modern Trek that I made yesterday was that with Modern Trek, why aren't we seeing both sides of the story? Because Star Trek was always a show where they showed you two different opinions or three different opinions. And it seems like we're getting sort of a very one-sided story from Star Trek. And I think that's also something that may be hurting Star Trek. So, that's something to think about. I personally feel that that's the case. I think that if they go ahead and do a political show, go ahead and show multiple sides of it rather than just one. Because when you just show one, it feels very one-sided. And Mikey Lito says, it is irredeemable. I do Agnes Girardi for some strange, undisclosed reason. I do like Agnes Girardi. Okay, that's okay. You can like people. This is certainly not something that's not permitted. Rogue Thinker says he's okay. Tom is mentioning that he's in the process of moving. Okay, well, something. I don't know what he is saying out in public. So, I'm just going to kind of leave that alone for now. So, until he discloses that information himself. And Bloodsport 1 says that I just watched the original Star Trek, and I can see why you would. I certainly do appreciate those original episodes, which are so fantastic. Now, Chips Biwak says that he's on Star Trek Discovery Season 2, and he thinks he gets why it's not liked, right? But it's not all that bad to me. Melodramatic to a fault, but watchable. Okay, that's a good point. And a lot of people have said that. Mikey Lito says, if you need a Star Trek rant, I can go on and on about Stacey Abrams appearing in Discovery and surprise a whole bunch of people. Now, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Mikey Lito. What I'm referring to is the fact that if they were going to go political by using Stacey Abrams in an episode, then in all fairness, that they should show both sides of the political spectrum. If they had any integrity, as far as I'm concerned, you would show multiple sides from multiple views, because that's what Star Trek usually does. We see different opinions and they don't always agree, and they manage to work it out. And that's what we want to see on Star Trek, is people who do have these differing opinions, differing thoughts about how they're going to, rule the galaxy, different ways that they live their lives, but working it out together. And when you only see one individual from one point of view, what ends up happening is that you don't have as many differing opinions. And, that does create a situation where people are like, well, why didn't they show the other side? Why aren't we talking about some of the other things that Star Trek is known for? So that's why I mentioned that, and I agree with you. It was very surprising to see her show up in that way, and it clearly was a political statement. And unfortunately, we haven't seen the other side. Maybe they will show the other side going forward, but I think that they, could exercise some sort of fairness, as far as I'm concerned, by showing more than one point of view. Okay. And Tom Jr. Jackson says, thanks. He might have mentioned, he might do a couple of segments. Oh, last Saturday, and then nothing. Hope he has a good move and settles in soon. Okay, Rogue Thinker, thank you for sharing that. And she did, wow. So Chips, BWAC, I'm sure you were unaware of this, that there's actually a person who is an official, a politician, a public official who has appeared in Star Trek Discovery. And I don't know how many public officials or politicians have appeared on a Star Trek show before. But what I can say is that, I think that there should be some fairness when we're kind of looking at different political standpoints. I think that both sides should get equal time on the air, and we should talk about, the different views that way. That's just my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel. Maybe you think that's crazy. Would sure like to know what you think about that. What is this modern Star Trek you are all talking about? I come from a parallel universe where they stopped making Trek 20 years ago. And J.J. Abrams and Alice Kirkman don't exist. LOL. Yeah, that would be a storyline that they could use, since he used it in the 09 one, where he's like, it's a parallel an alternative reality. And I knew that they were going to be in trouble. For me, the problem was that they could have made a good story with that alternative reality, but the story that they made was not one of my favorites. So that was disappointing. That's very clever. And thank you for sharing that. Star Trek would show a problem and then explore it without being too preachy. Yes, isn't that not true, everybody? That we would see so many different points of view. And Mikey Lito says that they crossed the line with that appearance. I think that they showed their hand. If we don't see the opposing view, and then kind of continue to hear, well, we're on the right side of justice. When they look at the law, we're at the right side of justice. It's not gonna look too, as far as I'm concerned, it's not quite what I would consider a fair shot. Hey, Luminara 843, how are you this afternoon, Luminara 843? So good to see you. Watched you on, I think it was Flex Friday the other day. So good to see you as always, Luminara 843. Such a pleasure to have you here today. And Mike Alito says, I'm unabashed Bernie Sanders progressive, and I thought her appearance on Discovery was very, very wrong. Well, you know something, Mike Alito? I think we're definitely going in the same direction. Let's go ahead and have different views on there and make it more fair, as far as I'm concerned. Chips Bewick says, yes, add Trump version of things to Star Trek. On Star Trek, and that would be controversial, interesting, and great fiction. Wouldn't it be interesting to see that? That would have been so much more of a interesting view to see. Exactly, Chip Spiewik. This is how I feel. Some of you guys may not agree, but I think that would have been very progressive and something that we're not seeing a lot of. Would be very innovative. Voltron, anyone, any fans from Voltron? Uh, Guys, if any of you are Voltron fans, please give a shout out to Bloodsport 1 about Voltron. Michaelita says, well, Turok was kind of a TP clone, but I'm sure that's only my opinion. And Rogue Thinker says, even shows like Private Little War showed that the Federation had to do the less terrible thing to save the greater good. Yeah, and there was another episode, I wonder if it is Private Little War, Rogue Thinker, although I'm not sure, where there were people who were going to be relocated on the next generation. This might be the same one. And in order for them to stay on their home planet, they would have had to go ahead and leave the Federation and go with another faction. And they left the Federation so that they could stay where they wanted to stay. And I thought that was a very interesting approach, because we have witnessed that several times in the history. Something that was different and perhaps maybe not the most popular opinion, but we still saw it because it was significant and needed to be discussed on Star Trek, because this is where we see things like that on Star Trek. Megas of Akanti says, I'm forced to believe that Kurtzman isn't going to change the formula until Bad Robot Secret Hideout loses the license and another production company inherits it. It's sad, but they've proven not to want to learn. The Emperor has no clothes. Yeah, a lot of people share that sentiment. Megas of Akanti. Chip Spiewak says, how would an insurrection in the Federation of Planets look in modern Star Trek? I have no idea. But wouldn't that have been something if they had added that in the show? I think that would have been interesting if they had kind of like maybe taken over the ship to begin with, and kind of like had an ability to show that different side, perhaps. Morning, Lumina, to Lumina from Bloodsport. Good morning again to Lumina. And Luminara 843. Chip Spiewak says, form, feet, and legs. And Megas of Vacanti says, Bloodsport 1, which Voltron? Oh, okay. So he does. There is somebody else out there who's watching Voltron, the original ones, which 100 Beast, Giant, Go Lion, and Armored Fleet. Dire Rugger 15. They're both subtitled in English and on the internet now for those guys. Okay. So Rogue lets me know that was Homeward, an okay episode. And in episode, an interesting episode for sure. Well, thank you for mentioning that. And Luminara 843 says, thanks, hello, Luminara. Says hello. That's me, of course. And good morning, Bloodsport. Hello to Tom Jr. Jackson. We're so happy to see you. Now, so it is kind of interesting when you think about that, because certainly, as Michaelito and I pointed out, seeing a politician on there was something that shocked us. I'm still shocked by it. I'm okay. I'm not sort of like, but I am surprised and felt that, if they don't kind of show both sides or other sides, it does, in my opinion, show a lack of integrity. All right. So Rogue Thinker says Paradise Lost in DS9 revolved around an attempted military coup of the Federation. A two-parter. Yes. And guys, I can't tell you how much of a fan I am of Deep Space Nine. I feel like Deep Space Nine was different. It was different. It's like, how do you make this show so that it's on a base? But it felt very fresh and new, even though you had characters from previous seasons on previous shows. I just really enjoyed it. And I think that it had a lot of things to it, and they were able to sort of go on. I think you could go on from that and go back to exploring the universe. They had that great wormhole that was right next door, or felt like it was right next door, but let's just say in close proximity. So you could jump in the wormhole and be like almost in another area. It was amazing to have something so close by that would allow you to transport through the galaxy. So I think that they did it right. And so Michaelito says, I have campaigned that woke doesn't exist, but certainly that was woke, and I'm completely irritated. So yeah, this is something to think about going forward. The placement of individuals who are willing to show up in a show. And it was certainly something that, you know, felt a very, as far as I'm concerned, it felt very preachy. So, you know, this was unfortunately something that, you know, I guess maybe they wanted to go ahead and make their point on that. But it was unfortunate that they decided to do this, Mikey Lito. And to make matters worse, it's even harder to watch the character that this person was playing come out smiling, you know, almost as if, you know, it felt very condescending to me. That's just how I felt. Maybe that wasn't their intention. Maybe, you know, someone has a different uh, opinion about it, but it felt very condescending. And certainly for such a high profile politician, especially now with everything that's going on in that particular state, um, I was quite shocked by it too. So, yeah, and hopefully they will do something to give an equal opinion on that. So, okay. So my last topic has to do with it, and it's kind of I wouldn't call it a light topic. Um, Grey's Anatomy, which is a TV show that's been on for quite some time, has a certain set of writers who write for the show. And the company, Shondaland, is very well known. And they have a writer for the show who, unfortunately, um, falsified information about her personal life. And one of the things that she falsified, um, the person, the writer, his name is Elizabeth Finch, and she's 44 years old. And unfortunately, she lied about certain things that have brought attention to her. Um, and this is very interesting to me because we've had another person, sort of like in Hollywood, you know, pretty much been convicted of lying about something, an attack that happened to him. And now this person is, you know, did a few days in jail, and now the person is out of jail. And, you know, it's kind of like a very sad situation. But supposedly, this particular writer lied about being, you know, sort of like incredibly ill and having a disease. And so I just thought it was very interesting to see that the idea of, you know, a person who's not just an actor, but also a writer who would go so far as to put that down as something that they just don't have, you know, a rare form of bone cancer, I believe, is what what she may have said that she had, or some sort of debilitating disease that wasn't true. But yeah, to see something like that is really a little disturbing, as far as I'm concerned. And we certainly don't want to see people doing those sorts of things, because it does waste a lot of time for all of us. And, you know, for things to possibly not be true, really is creating a scenario of, how do we believe you now? You've perjured yourself. It is disturbing either way. Um, Now, Mark Goes Dark Side says the biggest problem with Star Trek today is not the wokeness. It's not. All pushing political ideology. It's not. That's what he thinks. He says it's just that it's badly written. The characters are awful and gives us a dystopian, not utopian future. I do actually agree with that as well. I think that the writing is not great. And if they had better writing, you know, it would be easier to kind of look at this series from a different point of view. Chips Baywick says that it's always been preachy to me, but it's said that things I liked being preached about, but it said things I liked. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, of course. I think I never found it to be preachy. I always found it to be informative, you know, like, well, guess what? There's a dispute about this. They never told you what you should think. They just kind of made a decision and went on, but they never said that, you know, the decision that you made or how you feel was right or wrong, necessarily. They'd make a decision for the Federation, but, you know, I'm not the Federation. I don't always agree with the decisions they make in Star Trek. So, and that you would never be criticized for that. It was just like however you felt. Mike Alito says, I certainly agree with you, Mark Goes Dark Side, but that was just unnecessary extra And Artem is right. It was like in your face. Yeah, it was. It really was. Thank you, Michaelito. And yeah, this is something that I definitely agree with Marcos the Dark Side. They need to dust off Rick Berman. Absolutely. Bring him out of retirement to show run a well-written with great stories in Star Trek, just like we got back in the great. Agreed. We were so lucky to have Rick Berman doing those episodes. Now, Rogue Thinker is talking about Moon Knight. Anyone feel positive in their fandom for that? I certainly do. I sure hope Moon Knight is a wonderful, expressive show, and we do get just this spectacular adult version of a show. I don't really know if it's going to be, kind of like a NC-17. I want it to be hardcore. I don't know if it's going to be, but I sure hope that we do get that. And Mikey Lito says, Ira Stephen Bear, the showrunner for DS9. Yes, absolutely. I certainly would love that as well. Chips Bewick says, I've never been into Moon Knight, but I'll watch it. I'm definitely going to watch it. I think that it'll be very interesting. From what I understand, the comics are spectacular. And I definitely want to check out the comics a little bit before I see it, before the show starts for, very, very soon. So that's pretty much everything that I had to discuss today, guys. I have to say I am so grateful for all of you who have showed up this morning. Michaelita says, I do also. I'm looking forward to all the new Marvel content, and I'm also looking forward to all the DC content. I sure am looking forward to everything, especially the new stuff that we're going to be getting. And about the final thing that I was going to say is that, as we know, there's some delays on some of our favorite upcoming films. For me, it would be Aquaman 2. I am so looking forward to that series. And I am sad that there are going to be delays, but unfortunately, there's not very much we can do about that. Now, Megas of Akanti says, Cameron Pasha keeps bringing up his old boss, Ira Stephen Bear, as Trek's potential savior, but it has to happen first. Now, that's true. And Megas of Akanti, I'm going to ask Cameron. As you know, I stream with him on Monday nights on Toxic Femmes with Lorraine Krill, Nina, and Mandy. And then on Fridays with Tom Andre on Midnight's Edge. So I will kind of ask him about that a little bit more, because it'd be great to kind of speak a little about that. Chips Berwick says he's excited about Kenobi, though been rewatching the prequels on good grief. Clone Wars is bad. Okay. I liked the Clone Wars, but I respect your opinion, Chips Berwick. Not everybody likes the Clone Wars, and I understand that. I think that we were lucky to get the Clone Wars, and we were lucky to get these prequels. I watched the prequels over and over again as well. So thank you for sharing that. Mario Lopez is it me, or time travel and all the multiverse stuff was the worst way for the MCU to go to continue their story? You know something, Mario? I'm not fond of the time travel trope either. So, it's inevitable, especially when you have Doctor Strange, who is based on time travel idea. He's a character that, opens up portals to different times, different places. I think that he is someone who, unfortunately, inherently, that character has that. So, yeah. And Michaelito says, watch content, form an opinion. And we have Tom Jr. Jackson says, the first 4 episodes of Moon Knight are 45 to 51 minutes long. And for what I've been reading about Moonlight is that the first 4 episodes are excellent. Thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson. Megas of Akanti, I know. By the way, check your Discord every now and again. I certainly will. I think I do check it every now and again. And I did see that you reached out to me, Megas of Akanti. So thank you so much for that. And coming up here, as we come to the end of this, Eric Gant, good morning to you. I hope you are well, and thank you for, sharing your good morning to us. Rogue Thinker says, I'm glad you're looking forward to everything. I hope it's good, even though I'm not so optimistic. I would be happy if at least some of it was good. Yes, at this point, we're all kind of thinking that. Another controversial opinion, the impatience and demands of the fandom is a problem with MCU content. Perhaps it is. You know, we all come in with expectations too, and we can't help that. So that is something to think about. I even think about my expectations. For example, in Kenobi, one of the expectations, and I'm not quite sure why I had this, but um, the Inquisitors in Kenobi, one of the main Inquisitors, she's wearing black, and I kind of wish that she was wearing like a bright red outfit. Now the reason why is because Inquisitors, as you know, are assassins, and I feel like the red would kind of like reflect the blood that has been spilled from all the people that she's killed. At least it's how I look at it. But all the Jedi that she may have killed. Is that true? I don't know, but I just feel like they should have put her in red. Now that's not the most important thing, but I honestly, you know, started to look at it. I'm like, yeah, she shouldn't be in black. She should be in red. And I think that that would be more striking. But that's just me. All right. So, oh, I'm sorry. Specifically, Chip Spirock says I love the plot of the love plot of Clone Wars was bad. Okay, the love plot, and I loved Kenobi detective aspect. Camino people were great. Okay, okay, fair enough. Well, Rogue Thinker, take care. Tatooine looks beautiful, doesn't it? Hey, Lorena, how are you? Popping in to say hi. Hey, Lorena, it's always wonderful to hear from you guys. As you know, Lorena has her own channel, Lorena Creole. Guys, definitely check out Lorena's channel. She has so many wonderful streams and videos and lifestyle channel. I am doing a series with Lorena, the Reacher series, and so much more with her Toxic Femmes on Monday mornings. It's so good to see you, Lorena. Certainly, guys, check her out on the weekends when she does her park hopping, where she goes to different attractions at the parks. It's certainly worth a look. Magus of Vacanti says the trouble with the design and the location of the Inquisitors have already been set by the Jedi Fallen Order game. Yes, this is true. Kenobi uses that previous material. This is true. And I love Jedi Fallen Order. I love it. But I hear what you're saying. I'm like, if they're going to have, you know, she needed something new for the live action. That's what I'm saying, Magus of Vacanti. Just my personal opinion. I do agree with you that it feels very, in fact, I think that Kenobi is going to be just like Jedi Fallen Order. That's something that I said before. All right. So, guys, I did just want to thank you for showing up today. Well, Bloodsport one seemed to be reading my mind. How about a preacher and the Batman team up in a movie with EDM playing in the background? How did you know, Bloodsport one? How did you know? That's what I was thinking. Oh my goodness, you sure know me well, don't you? And Lord Top says, my wife and I just finished Reacher. It was well done. It obviously has a military and or law enforcement consultant because it was spot on for a TV show. And Lord Top, I have to agree with you 100% on that. It certainly does have someone who is either retired former military person who had impact and input on the show, adding to its authenticity. It absolutely is something that I think is amazing. So guys, I did want to thank you for tuning in today. I did want to mention that on Monday nights, you can find me streaming on Midnight's Edge in the show Toxic Femmes with Lorena Creole, who checked in with us, Mandy and Nina on 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, sometimes you can find me streaming on the 1/6 Scale Man Network with Leila Rockwell on Say What or on Uncivilized Scoundrels. Guys, I certainly do hope you tune into there. I'm also doing a Reacher series, a watch series on her Twitch channel, but we also broadcast it on Sundays, so you'll see it today at 1 o'clock on her channel, this Reacher review series with Lorena Creole. On Fridays afternoons at 12 p.m. Eastern, you can find me on Midnight's Edge in the morning with Tom and Andre, and of course, Camran Pasha. On the weekends, when it comes back, you'll find me on the Burn Network, streaming with Robert Meyer Burnett on Midnight Musings, along with other shows that will be coming up, PGS Reviews and PGS All-Stars. And guys, I have so many other things that are coming up. I'm going to be doing a review series with Terrier regarding a show, a documentary called In Search of Tomorrow, which is a documentary about 80s shows. So if you guys want to see that, please definitely check that out when it comes out, which will be very soon. And on Thursday and Friday, I'm going to be doing a Bridgerton special. So if you guys are fans of Bridgerton, certainly do check out my channel and Lorraine's channel on Thursday and Friday this week, as Bridgerton has just come back, one of the highest rated dramas on television. So please do check it out. I want to thank everybody in the chat today. Just everybody, thank you so much for your support. Really appreciate you guys. Six Scale Cantina. Hey. Six Scale Cantina says, hey, I know I will be right again. I called Grogu in Book of Boba. Is it possible he will be in Obi-Wan? And I say yes. Six Scale Cantina, Aries Tarrington, who definitely is one of the best YouTubers on YouTube. I say yes, and that's the reason why we got the 501st Clones Flash. And I have to agree with you on that, Six Scale Cantina. Guys, check out Six Scale Cantina. Eris Tarrington, a wonderful YouTuber, a wonderful Star Wars fan who I stream with as well. Certainly do appreciate his support. Thank you so much, Aries. We do love you on Six Scale Cantina. And guys, I did want to mention, I do appreciate your comments. Thank you for such a variety of comments on this chat. You guys are the best. Please like and subscribe the channel, and check out the Burn Network as well, my affiliate group there. Check out the Burn Network, and many of you are from the Burn Network, but you guys who are PGS members, remember, we are all goof people. I want to thank Tom Jr. Jackson for being such a great moderator, as always, for this show. You guys have been the best. Paul in Long Beach, you are just such a great supporter of the channel, and I appreciate it. You all are wonderful, and I so appreciate you coming out to hear everything this morning. I hope you have such a wonderful Sunday, whether it's morning, evening, night, or the middle of the night. I hope everyone is well. Definitely like and subscribe. Thank you for all your support, everybody. Goof morning to you, Paul in Long Beach. And remember, everybody, wherever you are out in the world, always remember to please be kind. Take care, everybody.